One a pigeon, two a pigeon, three a pigeon, more and more, underfoot, overhead, and roosting in our rafters. Pigeons are doves, and they have been with us since ancient times. From the cities of Sumer and Babylon, they conquered the world, migrating and multiplying to make nearly every city their urban jungle. Today, the prolific population is a problem that has come home to roost. We invited this gray bird to live among us as a pet, training it for our own pleasure. Darwin's admiration of its capacities led us to experiment on it, turning it into a model of artificial evolution, changing its shape, color, even crippling it with selective breeding methods. The used and abused gray city bird has more than 300 species of colored cousins in the wild, living in dense forest, desert, frozen tundra, and lush tropics. The pigeon's grace once charmed us. The dove became a symbol of love, fidelity, and peace, and a Christian icon for the Holy Spirit. This bird of peace was later transformed into a bird of war, equally capable of saving or destroying human lives. Now the army of street pigeons living on our concrete and steel world, feeding off our garbage, are known as winged rats. Their downfall from a revered wild bird to a city pest is a tragic tale. The island of Sardinia in southern Europe is an isolated, rugged beauty of rocky cliffs. This wild, natural habitat of steep rock faces and hidden caves is an ideal haven against the enemies of an inconspicuous gray-blue bird, the rock pigeon. The plain, gray-blue rock dove is unique among its many relations. Well ahead of the chicken, it was the first bird domesticated by man some 7,000 years ago. All the pigeons we breed and the millions of street escapees from human domestication descend from the rock dove. The rock doves, once magnificent navigators of the mountain regions of the Mediterranean, North Africa, Asia Minor and Asia, and coastal cliffs of Britain, today are reduced to a few wild populations like this colony in Sardinia. Here, rock pigeons continue to struggle on with their mates. Monogamous, perhaps more than many humans, they pair for life, even after the excitement of breeding season. They even look alike, except the cock has a slightly more powerful build. And he tends to push his weight around. During mating, he is a jealous lover, guarding his hen, persistently pursuing and pushing her, known as driving, toward the nest, as if to remind her where she belongs. The hen plays her own game. At first coy and hesitant, she soon takes control. Constantly encouraging him to kiss her, she puts her bill into his. It is a symbolic feeding, perhaps to test his ability to feed their future young. The hen repeatedly urges him to mate. Possibly as part of her mating instinct, she mimics his actions and mounts him. The cock does not object. Rock doves are a hardy lot, nesting only in rocky places and needing just a few stalks of grass for a cozy nest. Sometimes bare rock is enough. After the fun comes the work. Usually 10 to 14 days later, the hen lays her first egg. Traces of blood on the shell indicate this first delivery was a painful affair. The first egg is only guarded until the second egg arrives, 48 hours later. Then incubation begins to ensure they hatch together. Nesting places far up on the sheer cliffs are chosen to protect the young. From this safe haven, rock pigeons must fly up to 37 miles inland in search of food. Flying speeds reach up to 37 miles per hour. It takes a powerful magnet to lure the rock dove from the safety of the high cliff dwellings, a farmer's field. An abundance of food may be the reason the first rock pigeons approached human settlements. The next step they took, during the emergence of the first Mesopotamian cities in the 4th millennium BC, proved crucial to their domestication. The more daring pigeons left the safety of the cliffs to try a new habitat, a man-made artificial mountain, the City of Stones. The high ledges and niches of the stone temples of Ur and Babylon proved ideal. They felt at home. Settling on a holy place was taken as a sign that the rock pigeon was a bird of the gods. For the Syrians, pigeons were so revered they could not even be touched. Their heavenly credentials grew. The dove was given a lead role in the ancient myth of the Great Flood. The dove supposedly returned to Noah's Ark, majestically carrying an olive branch, signaling the end of the deluge. Honored in Christian churches as the Holy Spirit, it floats above the cross. The messenger of the gods eventually became the messenger of war.
Number 2 company office speaking.
Carrier pigeons were our fastest means of communication before the invention of the telegraph and wireless. Even when radio and field phones were standard in the 2 world wars, hundreds of thousands were pressed into service. 40,000 homing pigeons landed with the Allies at the Great Battle of Normandy in 1944. Pigeons were sent across enemy lines through gunfire, bombing, and poison gas. Mission after mission, they were there with the Army, Navy, and Air Force.
Something's wrong with this order. And Ray, you'd better signal base. tell when we might be needing you.
Pigeons saved countless lives, often at the expense of their own. Long before spy satellites, pigeons had the job. Fitted with special lightweight automatic cameras, they performed aerial reconnaissance. "For Christ's sake, stop firing," read the message delivered by Cherami on 27 October 1918. 194 soldiers of the U.S. Army, trapped between German gunfire and their own units, had one last hope: carrier pigeons. Cherami, its left leg shattered, a bullet through its breast and wing, soldiered through to save them from certain death. During the Second World War, military pigeons were decorated for outstanding bravery in battle. Today, monuments like this in Brussels remind us of their heroic deeds. Phenomenal attributes guide them back home, even under the extreme conditions and terrible stress of war. Their senses are sharp. They can hear inaudible sound called infrasound and see polarized light. Like most birds, the flying pigeon takes its bearings from scenic features, mountains, sheets of water, and buildings. But unique in the animal kingdom, its homing instinct works without sun, in a cloudy sky, even in darkness. It may have a compass that aligns itself along the Earth's magnetic field. This biological compass is calibrated to a given position during the pigeon's first attempts at flying. For its entire life, it can hone in on its birthplace. Thunderstorms, earthquakes, or even an eclipse might change the magnetic field of the Earth and affect the calibration of the pigeon's compass, disrupting this homing instinct. Once pigeons flew for God and country. Now we employ their homing ability for sport. Barcelona hosts one of the most important pigeon races in the world. 28,500 pigeons wait their cue to fly. Separated from their mates, they endured days of train transport from all over Central Europe. Then the race was delayed. 3 days of bad weather have kept them caged and tense. Pigeons are excellent flyers. Flight muscles comprise 40% of their entire muscular system. 10,000 feathers regulate their body temperature, even in extreme weather. Elite homing pigeons can fly more than 620 miles in a race, sometimes in a single day, in the right weather, reaching more than 62 miles per hour. ambition might ignore a sudden dangerous weather change capable of killing tens of thousands of racing pigeons. Some might arrive home safely, weeks or months later. Others will die of hunger or thirst or dangers unknown to these birds who have lost their ability in the wild. A raptor is on the hunt. A goshawk spots a stray pigeon. One prospective victim outraces the hunter. But the goshawk needs a kill. He has no energy to hunt several times a day. This pigeon will not be going home. Home does not always mean safety. A victory does. All pigeons start from one place and must fly to their widely separated home lofts in one region. Each loft has been assigned an exact geographic bearing. Male and female are equally fast, but the winner is not the first pigeon home. The one with the fastest flying speed in feet per minute wins. A pigeon's fate could rest in the information on a little ring attached to its leg. The race ring is placed in a calibrated sealed cloth. The central computer evaluates the data. In a sport where $100,000s of dollars change hands for a successful racer, only the best are selected each year. The rest are killed. To stay alive, a pigeon must stay a winner. Luckily, pigeons have a way around this mass slaughter, a speedy reproductive cycle. 17 to 18 days after incubation, using all its power to turn in the egg to face the shell cap, the young cracks through with its shell tooth on the bill tip. Hatching takes up to 24 hours. Finally, an exhausted, blind, yellow down-covered baby completely emerges. For the first 24 hours, it gets its energy from the nutrients in the yolk sac. Pigeons keep a neighborly distance of more than 3 feet between their nests. Any closer and territorial fights are sure to erupt. They keep a tidy nest, throwing the shell out after its use is over. Evening, and the pigeons return home to their mates and young, full from their distant feeding. females take mutual responsibility in the care and nurturing of their offspring, with good results. Pigeon nestlings are the fastest growing vertebrates during the first 3 days of their lives, doubling their weight every day. Pigeon couples seem to have found the answer to domestic bliss, sharing the breeding and nesting duties. The hen takes the late afternoon to early morning shift, the cock sits during the day. Their similar physical appearance has other benefits beyond the work sharing. They are both capable of feeding their young. Sexual dimorphism is more common in species where the sexes do not share the same investment in their offspring. After 5 or 6 days, the young open their eyes. The young birds must grow quickly and need plenty of protein. Normally, grain-feeding birds give their young insects or rainworms. Pigeons produce their own pigeon's milk. Production is controlled by prolactin, the same hormone that stimulates breast milk production in mammals. Pigeons are unique. They both produce the milk. Another feather in the father's cap, suckling its young. One week later, softened up versions of their parents' food are added. 2 weeks later, they are entirely weaned from the milk. The older they get, the more they beg for food by flapping. A handy way to train wing muscles. To learn the unique pigeon method of drinking, using a closed bill like a straw to suck up water, the young stick their closed bills into the adult's mouth to siphon liquid. After 2 weeks, they have their full plumage. At 4 weeks, they attempt to fly. This fast rate of growth was attractive to humans and at first seemed like good fortune for the pigeons. But fortune is not always good. Beautiful pigeon houses like these in Turkey were built to make the birds feel comfortable. But there was another reason behind this kindness. Pigeon meat was a highly appreciated delicacy. Even the pigeons' leftovers were prized. Their dung is an excellent fertilizer and was used to extract saltpeter to produce gunpowder. Until the 19th century, French bakers were rumored to add pigeon's dung to bread to make it rise. Today, pigeon lofts are preserved only to remind us of an old tradition. Even when pigeons live among us and the young finally emerge from the nest, we have difficulty distinguishing them from adults. The feathers are slightly duller. The iris is not yet a bright orange. The legs are not yet dark or pale red, and the cirrus, soft swelling at the nostril base, is not yet powdered white. The Austrian emperor who built this beautiful home for his beloved pigeons could never have dreamt that here, today, color genetic tests are performed on the birds. People have coaxed innumerable strains from the rock dove, making it a model of artificial evolution. Roller birds somersault in the air. The long flying ones stay in the air for up to 20 hours at a stretch. The high flyers spiral above the highest clouds. As with racing, man once again amused himself at the pigeon's expense. He was fascinated with the ability to breed pigeons in a variety of shapes and colors. In the past 50 years, the science of genetics has been used to transfer typical features of one breed to another by targeted crossbreeding. Darwin was fascinated with pigeon strains, and his studies of domestic pigeons made a major contribution to the development of the theory of evolution. But man went further. Not satisfied with changing the pigeon's appearance, he had to change his behavior as well. No animal has been quite as badly disfigured as the pigeon. Some feather-legged strains can hardly move. Others have series of a size that impairs their vision. Some short-billed strains cannot feed their young. The more extreme in appearance, the greater the risk of malformation. Some pigeons have been deprived of their ability to fly. Distorted the bird, the greater the chance to win a prize.
Und nun werden wir das hier in die Handbewertung nehmen. Und auch der Schwung ist relativ farbig. Das ist einer für sich denn das. Ein schönes Bild, ja, ein sehr schönes Tier. Und du machst das ja nicht.
Millions of birds just exist for beauty's sake, to satisfy their breeders' ambitions. Millions more are destroyed if they fail to qualify for competition or shows. Perfection is the only route to survival. There is no mercy if a pigeon's coloring, marking, or shape does not meet the prescribed breeding standard. A pigeon that fails to be a show winner is just another useless head to feed and is likely to lose it. Perfection, variety, and color already existed. Homing pigeons, street pigeons, and man-made genetic mutations descending from the rock dove have more than 300 related strains living in the wild. Exotic and colorful pigeon species are found in all terrestrial habitats, from dense forest to desert, from the cool temperate zones to the tropics. The New Guinea jungle is home to the largest of them all, the crowned pigeon. It is the only truly large pigeon to have survived. An adult can weigh 5.5 pounds, reaching the size of a turkey. Its heavy weight restricts movement to the forest bottom. The most splendid of the three-crowned pigeon breeds is the Victoria crowned pigeon. It nests as high up as 33 feet in the trees. Most pigeons lay 2 eggs. A crowned pigeon has only 1 egg per sitting, but with a lifespan of 45 years, it has plenty of time to reproduce. Australia's arid interior is habitat for the world's smallest pigeon. Hardly larger than a sparrow, the diamond dove weighs just 1.5 ounces when fully grown. A nomad, it sometimes covers considerable distances in search of food and water. The diamond dove's tiny nest in low-growing shrubbery or trees contains 2 eggs. Freshly hatched young weigh only 1 ounce and are fully fledged within 12 days. An adult diamond dove is hardly larger than a mouse and feeds mainly on grass seed. Its day is spent combing the ground for food. Other animals search for shade in the hot midday sun. This tough little bird loves the heat. The islands of East Asia are colonized by Nicobar pigeons. Nomads and island hoppers, they often fly large distances across the sea to feeding grounds and back again to their perching places. Nicobars are most active at dawn and dusk. Like other wild pigeon species, human hunting and destruction of their habitat have endangered them. These large birds lay just 1 egg. With such a low propagation rate, it is difficult for them to survive our encroachment. The superb fruit dove is one of the most spectacular doves. It lives in the rainforests of northeastern Australia and some Pacific islands. The fruit dove is one of the few pigeon species displaying a visual difference between the sexes. The gorgeous male is vividly colored, while the female is demurely attired in green plumage. Most pigeon species feast on wild herb seeds, nuts and buds, even insects. But true to their name, these inhabitants of East Asian and Australian tropical rainforests feed on fruits, digesting only the pulp and excreting the seeds. Acting like gardeners of the jungle, they ensure the seeds from their food trees are spread. Some pigeons have no gardens to tend. The snow pigeon is a hardy survivor living in the Rocky Mountains of Central Asia, where temperatures can drop far below freezing. In winter, it relies on grain scavenged around villages. Snow pigeon colonies prefer rock faces or deep gorges at altitudes of 10,000 to 16,000 feet, building their nests on inaccessible ledges or in caves. Twice a day, they travel between their rocky homes and feeding grounds, defying altitude changes of almost 6,500 feet. The Arizona Sonoran Desert is sweltering hot at midday. In the rough cacti dominating the landscape, an American mourning dove chooses to build its nest. Like other pigeon chicks, its young are helpless, hatched blind and covered with only a thin down feathering. When the adults leave, they are on their own. Ideal prey for a watchful Harris hawk. The sharp, prickly spines on the cholla cactus defeat the hawk, protecting the little ones. With the danger over, the mother returns to her nest. Mourning doves survive by keeping constant guard and by using their speed and flying agility. One pigeon has almost conquered the whole Australian continent. From lightly wooded grassland, arid and semi-arid zones, the crested pigeon followed the clearing of the dense coastal forests into agricultural districts and towns, and liked what it found: town parks with plenty of nesting trees. The human presence ensures only a rare appearance of the dreaded raptor, and there is always something around to nibble. But these pigeons might become unwelcome, and like the street pigeons, suffer a new and terrible fate. When pigeons were invited to throw their fate in with humans, they were enslaved. The abuse and exploitation has continued for centuries. But they are fighting back by sheer numbers, and perhaps it is they who now control us. Our cities are overpopulated with pigeons. They exploit every corner to make a nest or a perch. Their corrosive droppings create sanitary and aesthetic problems and contribute to the destruction of valuable historical structures. Many people consider pigeons a nuisance. To reduce their number, they are shot, caught in nets, or poisoned with cyanide. Ripwire, barbed wire, and grills are the weapons used to bar pigeons from comfortable places on buildings, attics, and backyards. Attempts are made to limit the populations with more humane and ecologically sound methods. One is a ban on feeding. Pigeons need nests to reproduce, but gone is the time when cities encourage pigeons to use high buildings like rock cliffs for roosting. Blocking access is proving effective in reducing their numbers. Some cities have installed supervised lofts where eggs are replaced by dummies, a form of birth control. But the best method may be at the planning stage, designing pigeon-unfriendly buildings with few perching places. They can only survive in the city if they can multiply and find food. In spite of bans on feeding, there will always be bird lovers who feed the pigeons. It's easy to imagine why a pigeon refuses to leave the convenience of the city, with its artificial mountains offering free room and board. What pigeon could resist dining out at all the best places where everything is on the menu, even pizza? And there's always enough if a few friends drop by. Even among the army of street pigeons, there are occasions to glimpse birds of high breeding. These pigeons are descendants of carrier pigeons that have lost their way, or of colorful breeds that accidentally escape their owners. It is not the good life for every bird. The city holds its own particular dangers, and often birds fall victim to a common one: wires. With a mangled leg, a bird will likely grow weaker and weaker, unable to defend itself. This young pigeon is dying, but a male interprets its behavior as a signal to mate. There is a wild enemy that invades the city, a raptor. It cleans the streets of the weak. And peregrine falcons cannot resist the tender taste of pigeon as part of their diet. Among humans, determined efforts to reduce pigeon numbers in our cities must be handled carefully. We have lost too many species already. Five billion passenger pigeons once lived on the North American continent. By the start of the 20th century, they were extinct, poisoned, their habitat destroyed by immigrant farmers. Four centuries ago, another pigeon species was completely extinguished. The dodo is the heraldic animal of Mauritius. Just 70 years after the island's discovery in 1589, the turkey-sized bird that could not fly was eliminated. Recently, attempts are being made to revive the dodo by cloning, using genetic material from the few surviving bones. Chance for success is extremely low. Another of the island's pigeons was pulled from the brink of extinction at the last minute. The Mauritius pink pigeon population had shrunk to a few birds. The Jersey Zoo initiated a breeding program ensuring its survival. Once again, pink pigeons inhabit the mountain forests of Mauritius. The revival of these splendid birds offers hope for the preservation of other pigeon species. Life would be a little less amusing without these delightfully colorful folk. Who would want to imagine Venice and St. Mark's Square without its most famous sight? Even the lowly street pigeon, with its simple black, white, and gray nuances, is a fascinating creature, a fragment of nature in our civilized world. Without the gray bird, we might find a little color missing from our lives.